Before I start, something unrelated, there will be a link to a map that lists the first and last names and relative location of the top 100 people harming the environment. The map is from 2017. I've been searching for an updated one, but I can't find one. It will be posted in the description. It is so important that we know the names of the people who are literally killing the environment for selfish reasons. I'm going to be directly referencing articles that I will put in the description as well. This article from AmericanProgress.org says, "The crushing impact of criminal justice system's failure is felt acutely in communities across the United States. Significant and growing research shows how certain populations, including communities of color, residents of high poverty neighborhoods, and lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender or LGBT individuals have been partly hard hit. But rarely discussed is the impact of the criminal justice system on Americans with disabilities." This is an audio clip from the video Disability Rights Activist Movement documentary by YouTube user Brian Letendre.
Citizens with a disability were forced to be locked away in institutions and asylums where the treatment there was horrifically cruel. There, patients with disabilities ranging from mental disorders to disfigurements were shut away and dehumanized. Patients were often left neglected, locked up, and tied to furniture for hours on end. Citizens were denied equal opportunity and equal treatment just because they were different.
This is more from the same AmericanProgress.org article. The past 6 decades have seen widespread closure of state mental hospitals and other institutional facilities that serve people with disabilities, a shift often referred to as deinstitutionalization. While widely regarded as a positive development, deinstitutionalization was not accompanied by the public investment necessary to ensure that community-based alternatives were made readily available. So basically, they were like, we have all these people that need help. We're not helping them anyway. So let's close the building, leave them out to do whatever the fuck, not give them any help, not give them enough help. As a result, while people with disabilities, and particularly those with mental health conditions, were no longer living in large numbers in institutions, many began to be swept up into the criminal justice system, often due to minor infractions such as sleeping on the sidewalk. Indeed, the federal and state jails and prisons are now home to 3 times as many people with mental health conditions as state mental hospitals. Where are the mentally ill people going to go? Did they think about that? Did they care about that? No. Just leave them all on the street. The world will sort it out. And how the world sorted it out was by putting them in jail. People with disabilities are thus dramatically overrepresented in the nation's prisons and jails today. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, people behind bars in state and federal prisons are nearly 3 times as likely to report having a disability as a non-incarcerated population, while those in jails are more than 4 times as likely. Cognitive disabilities such as Down syndrome, autism, dementia, intellectual disabilities, and learning disorders are among the most commonly reported. The Bureau of Justice Statistics reports that fully 1 in 5 prison inmates have a serious mental illness. Do you think mentally ill people need to be in jail? Or are you a normal person and think they need actual help? Mass incarceration of people with disabilities is unjust, unethical, and cruel, but it is also penny wise and pound foolish, as community-based treatment and prevention services cost far less than housing an individual behind bars. Oh, did you hear that? It costs far less to actually help them than it does to put them in cages. Unbelievable. In addition to facing disproportionate rates of incarceration, people with disabilities are also especially likely to be victims of police violence. Sometimes, people with disabilities think different. Crazy, right? It's almost as if a disorder in your brain affects how you think. What is seen by the police who are uneducated, which is the majority of them, they're like, wow, this person's weird. Let's shoot them so they don't shoot me first, even if they don't have a weapon, even if they don't have a gun, just because they're acting weird. A lot of the times, the acting weird isn't even acting weird. It's just their own biases that they project onto random people. Are they actually acting weird, or are they just disabled? Let's just put them away so I don't have to look at them. Let's just kill them so I don't have to look at them. So we don't have to deal with them, to deal with their burdens, when we don't even do that in the first place. Freddie Gray, Eric Gardner, Christina Conyard, and Robert Ethan Saylor were all individuals with disabilities whose tragic stories of being killed at the hands of police officers garnered significant recent national media attention. They are but 4 high-profile examples of widespread commonplace occurrence. Sometimes people with disabilities can't express their stories. So those are only 4 examples. What about the countless others that don't tell their story? What about them? While data on police-involved killings are extremely limited. Gee, I wonder why that is. One study by the Rudderman Family Foundation estimates that people with disabilities comprise a staggering 1/3 to 1/2 of all individuals killed by law enforcement. Did you hear that? 1/3 to 1/2. Killed! Not incarcerated, killed. Is this subtle eugenics, or is this a coincidence? According to an investigation by the Washington Post, 1/4 of the individuals shot to death by police officers in 2015 were people with mental health conditions. Countless more have suffered brutality and violent treatment at the hands of police, often stemming from misunderstandings related to mental health conditions and other disabilities. This is me sharing a bit of my arrest story. My family has a very, 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 very hard time accepting me as I am. My dad and I got into a physical fight, which he started, and which I finished. He called the police saying that I was the one who started it. Before any of this happened, I already had major PTSD from other stuff that happened. If you don't know, sometimes things trigger your PTSD. One of my triggers is being attacked. The police, according to the report, was going to take me to the hospital. Did he say anything when I asked him repeatedly? No, he fucking didn't. I stepped out of the car, which he told me to do. Then he was like, give me your keys. And because I was basically living out of my car, I was like, why? He didn't tell me anything. He was like, give it to me right now or I will tase you. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. I don't agree with being threatened when I don't even know why I'm being threatened. There aren't classes to take that tell you to follow the police exactly. There aren't classes, there aren't courses. You're just supposed to automatically know to obey them. How's that fair? How are we supposed to, how are disabled people supposed to know that we're supposed to suck up to the police when no one tells us? How are we supposed to know that asking questions is wrong? And you're supposed to take everything that they say at face value and obey them 1000%. Because if not, you will die. First of all, we shouldn't have to obey the police 100% because they're not God. They're just a human person with a gun and a badge. Why do I have to obey them 1000% without question when it's my right to ask questions, when it's my right to know what's happening to me specifically? It's my right to know. If the police officer that day would have just talked to me like a person instead of treating me like the piece of shit that he thought I was, then I wouldn't have gone to jail. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't mind following directions when it's for my safety. If he told me, out of his mouth and not in his head that he wanted to seek help for me, then I would have been like, okay, I'm allowed to ask questions when it literally regards me directly. And also because I was literally just attacked not even 30 minutes before. Literally brought me to the ground where I wrestled with it because I don't like being attacked because I have PTSD. After I had already gotten attacked by a man who was bigger than me and aggressive, not even an hour before. Yay! And then I went to jail for a month. I went to jail for putting his life in danger when he literally put my life in danger. There is a lot more to that story that I am not sharing because this video is not about me. But that was just one example. My resisting arrest was not me resisting arrest. It was me resisting being attacked by a man who I didn't know, who was aggressive toward me. He literally did not even tell me he was arresting me. He told me absolutely nothing the entire time. What a guy. What a guy. That same police officer came to my house before, maybe like a week before or something. And he knew I had mental health struggles. Didn't know exactly what, because I didn't fucking tell him. But he knew that I had mental health struggles, and yet he still acted like an animal toward me. While behind bars, people with disabilities are often deprived of necessary medical care, as well as needed supports, services, and accommodations. This is despite long-standing federal disability rights laws that mandate equal access to programs, services, and activities for all people with disabilities in custody. Why would they care about the disabled people in prison and enforcing their rights when the disabled people who are not in prison are still constantly facing challenge and discrimination and being treated like garbage? Poor conditions in jails and prisons and inadequate access to health care and mental health treatment can not only exacerbate existing conditions, but also lead to further physical and mental health problems that individuals did not have prior to incarceration. This is how the mental health system was in the prison that I was at. Are you gonna kill yourself? How could I possibly kill myself? All right, you're good then. See you tomorrow for the same amount of time. Many inmates with disabilities are held in solitary confinement, reportedly in many cases for their own protection due to lack of appropriate alternative accommodations. The tragic but all too common case of Kalief Browder brought this to light last year. Browder died by suicide after nearly 2 years in solitary confinement in Rikers Island on charges, later dismissed, that he had stolen a backpack. You're telling me a disabled person killed themselves because they were in a place that they were forced to be by themselves, which exacerbated their mental health issues over a stupid backpack when people are getting away with rape and murder in plain daylight? That shit does not add up. Moreover, while people with disabilities already face barriers to employment, stable housing, and other necessary elements of economic security, adding a criminal record to the mix can pose additional obstacles that make living with a disability an even greater challenge. If we look at this in terms of the disabled person finding a job, why would the employer hire a disabled person with a criminal record when they could hire an able-bodied person without a criminal record? Most employers are pussies and they don't tell you why they don't hire you. It's illegal to not hire somebody for their disability. It still happens constantly. They just get left in the dark with no response. Never mind the fact that the disabled person went to jail for most likely a stupid fucking reason. Meanwhile, re-entry programs for formerly incarcerated individuals often lack necessary accommodations and connections to community services, making them incapable of meeting the needs of participants with disabilities. The programs that are already in place to help inmates get out of jail are not helpful to disabled people. And that's a problem considering how many fucking disabled people are in jail. This is from an article from the website prisonpolicy.org. The police are often the first responders to a person in crisis. In 2015, the Washington Post reported that 124 cases of officer shootings, 27% of all officer shootings that year, involved a mental health crisis. In 36% of those cases, the officers were explicitly called to help the person get medical treatment and shot them instead. Despite their frequent role in mental health crises, police response is deeply inadequate, and experts agree that not only do police need better training, but the role in crisis response needs to be entirely reconsidered. As long as we continue to rely on militarized police forces to handle crises instead of social workers, mental health response teams, and other trained professionals, police will continue to escalate situations to deadly force, and disabled people, specifically disabled people of color, will continue to lose their lives. Please read the entire article from prisonpolicy.org. Please do that. Please. I think because of the way the world is right now, we need to focus on helping Black disabled people first. Because of all of the injustice that them and their ancestors and whatever has faced, it is important to give them a help. I am very pro Black Lives Matter. If you're not, I don't know what you're doing here, because you can't separate one minority from another, because there is overlap in every single minority group. By helping Black disabled people, we can help literally everybody. I was going to reference an article from aclu.org, but I can't. It's really hard to read. Why are disabled people put in so much pain when they are already in an unbearable amount of pain beforehand, which is just made worse by the prison system, which is just made worse by the lack of accommodations, which is just made worse by the way they're treated in prison, which is just made worse by the way they cannot enter society the right way after prison. People are like, yeah, the police are so helpful. They're only helpful because they are the only thing we call. What do you call when you need help? 911, right? We keep using the police to help us, but really, they are hurting us significantly. Significantly. When are they going to get training? If you're a cop watching this, tell me the exact time and date you are going to get training to help disabled people. If you are a prison guard watching this, tell me the time and date you are getting training to get better, because this cannot go on. Who are you to do this to people? You're not God. You're a fucking person. Why do you treat other people less than you? You're no better than them. The reason I included the portion with the unrelated map in the beginning, because all of those people are significantly harming the environment, and they're filthy rich. Rich people, they're hoarding all of that money for no reason. I am 100% not talking about people who make $70,000 a year. I'm talking about the specific 100 people in the map. What are they doing with their money that they're seeing the stuff that's going on in the world and not fucking acting on it? Why? Hoarding money for no reason is evil, and nobody can convince me otherwise. How can you have this surplus of money? Notice that people are fucking being killed every single day, and then do nothing about it. If they're such good people, then they would fucking do something about the world, because they are the ones that have the funds. The poor people have had enough. Did you know that the wage gap now is so much greater than the wage gap in the 1700s, right before the French Revolution? We have a responsibility to help other humans. I don't care what anyone says. If you live for yourself and say fuck everyone else, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Literally. Tell me. If your happiness costs environmental damage so extreme, if your happiness costs thousands and thousands of people to be incarcerated when they don't need to, if your happiness costs lives of people who have potential, who have families, who have things to learn, I think you should watch out. Not for me personally, God no, but the rest of the 99%.